Hey everybody, it's Michael from Replica Airguns, and today is my first review of an airsoft product. Now some of you have said, oh Mike, please stay away from airsoft, and some of you have said, hey Mike, we'd really love it if you started reviewing some airsoft guns. So I don't think I'm going to make everybody happy here, but I've decided to start looking into reviewing and even carrying some airsoft products over at my Replica Airguns website and store. Now here in Canada we do have some limitations as to what we can have. And really quickly, I'll summarize kind of how it all works. In Canada, most airsoft guns are considered toys versus BB and pellet guns that shoot the metal BBs and lead pellets, which are considered non- or uncontrolled firearms. The reason being is that many airsoft guns do not have enough power to cause serious injury. And that's really what differentiates the two. Now, when you get into an airsoft gun like this WE SCAR that we're looking at today, it shoots well up into the 400 feet per second range, and once you get up in above 410 to 420 feet per second, our Canadian government doesn't look at this gun anymore as a toy. It then reclassifies it as the uncontrolled or non-controlled firearm. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but that's how it works. The other type of airsoft gun that we can get here in Canada would be ones that have the clear receivers. And now they don't have to be totally clear as long as you can put it up to the light essentially and see through it. So it can be a smoky clear receiver, a smoky plastic. And many of these dark smoky clear guns look very authentic. So I'm going to start taking a look at some of those as well. Now the reason our guns have to have the clear receivers, here's another Canadian law. We're not allowed to have replicas. And don't forget, when we're talking about BB guns, pellet guns, they fall into the non-regulated or uncontrolled firearm category, and therefore they can be replicas. So hope that clears that up. So let's get into this product right now. What we have here is we have the WE, so it's the name of the company, AWSS SCAR-L, and this is the tan version. Now this is the Generation 3 closed bolt system, and I'll get a little bit more into that when I start showing around the gun, but there's a little bit of a difference between the open and closed bolt. If you haven't noticed, it's a replica of the FN SCAR, which is the NATO round firing Special Operations Forces Combat Assault Rifle. Comes in various calibers. Now this product is made in Taiwan. I'll quickly show you it comes in a very sturdy case. See here, WE SCAR. There's not much on here really, just a couple little stickers. The case is very, very solid. The gun is basically zap strapped inside of it. Now I got mine used, so it was put back in the box and some packaging material was put in there in the place of the zap straps. Now before I get too far into this review, I do want to mention who I purchased this from. I purchased this from another fellow YouTuber. His YouTube channel name is Fuzzy Dice Pimp, and he makes some excellent videos, a lot of high-speed footage, some really interesting and well thought out videos. He's very creative. He generally shoots air guns, pellet guns, airsoft. He's got a nice large caliber, 50 caliber air gun that he shoots at things from time to time, and it's very interesting to watch a lot of his videos. So make sure to check out Fuzzy Dice Pimp's YouTube channel. You'll enjoy his videos a lot. And he gave me a very good price on this gun. It was just a little under $200 US shipped. Now that's very good because here in Canada, they tend to sell in and around upwards of $400+ I know in the States, this is around $300 or so. So I did get good value on this gun. Now it also did come with a few parts here. I don't know if they normally come with speed loaders, but mine did. And this butt plate was a replacement part here. This is the broken one. Originally it cracked. These guns are notorious for the heavy blowback, which can sometimes crack these plates. Now the previous owner made a little mod, and I'll show you that, where you'll see on the recoil spring, he's added a little bit of a cushion on the end in the form of Velcro, which I thought was a good idea. I'll show you that later. Now I did mention that these guns come fully assembled. As far as I know, mine was fully assembled. Now I have a compensator on here. I added this to this gun because the previous owner also had a compensator on it, but he kept his compensator, and I guess he lost the muzzle flash or didn't have it anymore. The muzzle flash he would have got probably would have been the orange color. Now you can buy black ones or whatever. In Canada, we don't need to have the orange muzzle flashes on these guns, especially when they fall into the uncontrolled firearm category. Alright, so let's quickly go over some specifications. Again, this is the Generation 3 closed bolt system. It shoots 6mm airsoft BBs. Now I recommend 0.25 gram or higher because this gun does shoot very hard, and when you're shooting the lower weight 6mm BBs, they tend to become unstable. As I said, this gun has very heavy blowback action, and it holds 30 rounds in its magazine. It's semi-auto and full auto selectable. Now, the bolt needs to be cocked prior to shooting, so it's single action. It has an 11.5 inch barrel. It weighs just about 7 pounds, coming in at 6.9 pounds. It uses various gas blowback sources, so it can use green gas, propane, with the green gas propane magazine, which I have in here. I'll show you the differences later. And you can also use a CO2 magazine, which I bought a few of those because I'm kind of a CO2 guy. Now, I haven't tried propane with this gun yet because I thought I had propane, but I didn't. I did buy the adapter for it, but I don't have propane. So when I do my actual shooting test, I'll give that a whirl. This gun shoots up to 450 feet per second, which is nice, making it an unregulated firearm here in Canada. Now, it's a full-on replica of the MK16 Mod 0 in caliber 5.56 millimeter, and you'll see that on the other side of the receiver. It has a full metal upper, a polymer lower, polymer stock with full metal internals, and mostly external metal parts. Alright, so I'm quickly going to bring another product in here, and you'll notice this looks very similar. This is an ISSC MK22, and it's a 22 long rifle version of the SCAR, and I have done a review on this gun, so make sure to check it out, but you'll see it's very similar in many ways. Different color, obviously, but very similar design from the same gun, and I thought I'd bring that in here to show you. Now, they both are about the same physical size and weight. Obviously, this 22 has a fair bit of kick, but realistically, they both kind of feel almost the same in the shoulder. So they're both really fun to shoot. Alright, I did forget to mention, it does come with a manual, of course. And so I'll show you around that really quickly. A lot of nice pictures, information in there. Shows you how to take it down, everything like that. How to adjust the stock. Everything you need to know. Alright, I wanted to show you some different ammunition here. The top, we have a 4.5 millimeter BB. Then we have a 6 millimeter airsoft plastic BB, which is designed for this gun. You can see the size difference. And this is an aluminum 6 millimeter BB as well. Now, this gun is designed to shoot 6 millimeter BBs. I don't know what's going to happen if you shoot the aluminum ones long term. The gun isn't designed for metal or aluminum BBs, so you'd have to shoot this at your own risk. I did try a few, and they seem to work fine, and they even got good velocity. So that said, I'm probably going to hear about it, but you know, I like to try things out for myself, see how they work. Alright, so let's get into the walk around of this gun. We'll quickly look at some different parts. I'm going to pick it up and just kind of get into it a little bit tighter and let you see it nice and close. It's a great color for video. I love tan colored products. Black tends to be harder to see on camera. You can really see this gun here. It's absolutely gorgeous. I may hit my tripod walking around this gun, but it's just gorgeous. Alright, I'll put it back down just so I can kind of show you the different parts. Alright, we have a polymer stock. Now I'll show you how it works from the other side. All metal. It's a CNC aluminum upper here. We have our charging handle, metal parts, metal part, metal part. This is basically where the stock clips into right here. All the rails are metal. All the sights are metal. I'll show you the sights later. Selector switches, metal, ambidextrous. Okay, this is the magazine release. They're ambidextrous. You can access them on both sides. Trigger is metal. Lower frame is actually polymer, but very good quality. The gun doesn't come with the foregrip. This is just a cheap foregrip I put on here. Makes it a little easier to hold. Again, the magazine, all metal. This is the propane or green gas magazine. You can see because you can actually load the green gas on the bottom here. All metal with some plastic parts on the top. You can see you have your selector switch. I didn't mention it, but that's safe, single shot, and full auto. Take a look at that a little closer here. Nice. Magazine release. Okay, we're going to flip around, look at the other side. Okay, we're going to take a close look here. I want to show you some of the markings. So here is the real steel markings you'd see on this gun. Very nice. Sorry, I'm hitting my tripod stand. This gun's nice and large. Now, by the way, this charging handle, you can actually change it around and put it in different sides. I'll show that later. And so we have our adjustment here. This is for the height of your stock. this is to close it. And this, you have to push really hard down, is to extend it. And you have many positions here, 6 positions. I like the look of the gun when it's in the full in position, but it shoots for me a little better. I like it on the full out. Gets my eye just away from the gun a little bit more. Again, the ambidextrous selector here. And this is the bolt charging release here. Let me just, so when you, I'll just show you quick here. If you press this, it's going to snap forward. Okay? And there is your magazine release. Ambidextrous again. Alright. Moving to the top. Let's take a quick look. Alright, we have our front sight. Now it pops up. You have to push that in to put it down, but it just pops up manually. Push that in, put it down. And the nice thing is with this scope I have on here, I can actually see through the scope. The red dot didn't come with that. And when I pop up both sights, let me try that for you. I can actually see through the scope. So if my sight were to fail or my battery were to die, I could still use this gun, which is nice. Don't know if you'll be able to see that. There you go. And by the way, these sights are fully adjustable for windage and elevation. Now, I didn't mention it, but you do have the loopholes for your strap. You also have them in the back, you can see here. Alright, let's take a look on the underbelly here. Now there's not too much, but you do have your rails all the way around this gun, which is nice. Take a look up in there. Alright, now getting quickly into the different magazines. I have a green gas magazine on my left here, and I have a CO2 magazine on my right. Now by the way, this little switch, you can move it forward and back. A little bit tight, but when you move it in the back position, the bolt will essentially close on you even after the last BB. So you can fire this gun dry, which is kind of neat. If you want the bolt to stay open on the last BB, you put that in the forward position. Alright, so you can see here your green gas or your propane would go in here. And by the way, if you have a propane tank, so you can see this, focus, there we go. If you have a propane tank, you can use these adapters. They go on the propane tank, and you can fill these up with propane, nice and easy. Now I just need to find a propane tank. Now on the CO2 gun, you just basically pop this back, and you can actually use this bit here to remove the CO2 screw, and then tighten it back up, and you just simply pop this back in when you're done. Nice and easy. Alright, so it's time to show you how easy this gun is to field strip. It actually field strips, from what I've been told. I don't own the real gun, and my 22 version is not the same at all in how it field strips. You have to actually use tools. This gun I can field strip with my bare hands, just like the real gun. You start by, now hopefully I'm not going to get too much in the way here with this tripod, but you push this part out all the way, flip it over, and you just pull that out. Well, not out, but just all the way back. Then you can take off your lower receiver. See inside of there, all the different parts. Now this is very much like the real gun. Okay, so we're there, and now essentially the butt stock, or the butt plate and butt stock, comes off. You just push it down, and then here's your spring. Okay, everything's a little bit greasy, so I'm going to actually get a towel. Put my greasy parts on here. Alright. And then once that's done, you can literally pull this back, and this is the bolt. Now you can then take this part out, and this can be moved to the other side if you choose. So I'll do that when I put it back together, because I actually want it on the other side. Alright, so here is your bolt. Okay, so there's your parts. Alright, and so that's, I mean, you can take the front part and barrel out by removing some of these screws and getting into it that way, but I'm not going to go that far. This is your basic field strip. Now you can see here, you can see the actual, and this is called the closed bolt, because with the open bolt version you wouldn't see this. It's a little bit different mechanism, and I'm not going to get into pros and cons and what's better and what's not better or whatever. This is the one I have, this is the one I'm reviewing. I think the only way to really know for sure which one is the better of the two as far as efficiency and everything would be to own both of them, test them both very thoroughly, and since I don't have that, I don't really want to comment. You can do your own research on that. Some people don't like the look of this brass tube in here. I saw one video where a fellow just painted it black. Couldn't really see it at all after that. I mean, you'd have to really look for it when you're shooting. So if you don't like it, if you have the closed bolt, you don't like that brass tube, paint it. It's that simple. All right, so we're going to put this back together in reverse order. Now, I did lube this up really good. So I'm going to put the charging handle on the other side this time. There we go. So it has to be in the right way, obviously. So that's first. You see I'm getting it all dirty. What a shame. You put your recoil spring in. Sorry, I'm trying to do this around here. And this is the part I wanted to say. If you're finding that you're breaking your butt plate, then try, get this to focus. Okay, see what's happened here? We've got some Velcro on the end. That just adds a little bit of cushion so that when this recoil spring comes back, or the force of the blowback comes back, it's not going to be as directed on the butt plate. Okay, so now the butt plate goes on, the butt stock with the butt plate. Slide that up all the way. We're almost there. Okay, get everything in the right direction. I mean, this really couldn't be any easier. And we're back together. It's really that simple. So now I have the charging handle on the other side. Here's my mag. Charging handle on the other side, which I like. Perfect. Okay, so this is the tabletop video, so I'm not going to talk a lot about the shooting performance of it, but I do want to mention a couple things. I like to at least go out and shoot it a bit before I do the tabletop review, get my hands on it, get an idea of what it's really like before I can make any real comments about it. So I did shoot some rounds through this. I did kind of chronograph it to get an idea where it was at. I did shoot it at some targets, and it chronoed well into the 400 plus, just above 400, even with the 0.25 gram BBs. So it shoots very hard. Even with the aluminum BBs, it tended to get up over 400 feet per second. With the lower 0.2 gram BBs, it was just a little higher than the other two, obviously. It performed pretty well for me. It did use a lot of gas, so it used a lot of CO2. I didn't try it with propane. I may get more out of it with propane, maybe a little less feet per second, but maybe more shots per mag. I was getting around 1 CO2 for 1 mag. That's a lot of CO2. It was shooting hard, it was blowing back really hard, and I was shooting some of those rounds obviously in full auto. Alright, here is, now this is what's amazing. See if you can see this. This is about a 2-inch group. This represents 10 shots from 30 feet away in a semi-rested position. So you can see that's, based on my finger, that's about 2 inches right there from side to side. That is really not bad. That was very impressive. I was actually shocked when I came up and looked at the target. I know it's a little bit hard to see, but this one represents full auto burst. Now the target flipped up from the wind, and so I got a few that came down because the target went up as I was shooting. But most of the shots were well centered, and you know, it spread it out a little bit more. But that's about 20 rounds that went through this target and stayed pretty on target. Now some people claim a few problems with these guns, and they're very minimal problems. It's generally to do with this butt plate getting hit so hard by the recoil spring that it tends to break, but there are replacement parts that have been beefed up a little bit. Again, you can put maybe a little bit of something on that recoil spring like what's been put on this gun, maybe some Velcro just to soften up when it hits that butt plate. A couple other things, the internal hammer mechanism, there's an actual pin that goes through it. Some people say that comes loose. So keep an eye on the parts. That's pretty much what it is. People say things come loose on this gun because of the heavy blowback, and sometimes you lose parts. So keep an eye on things. And maybe JB weld some screws or different pins in there if you need to. Just keep an eye on the gun overall, and I think you'll be fine. Alright, so let's get into the pros. There's a lot of pros for this gun. It has amazing attention to detail. I looked at pictures of the real SCAR, and this gun is pretty much identical. Now this has an all CNC aluminum upper. Beautiful. All this part here, not the lower part, but the upper part. Again, all metal internals. I mean, everything on this gun, metal, 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 external, except for where the actual real gun would have polymer. Everything's metal. It's also semi-auto, selectable, full auto selectable. Very cool. I love shooting these guns in full auto. I know you don't get a lot of shots per CO2, but it's still tons of fun. This gun has amazing blowback. It has, I would say, as much felt shoulder recoil as my 22 long rifle version does. Again, this gun field strips just like the real steel, as you saw me show you there. Now, this gun gets a nice 400 plus feet per second rating, which allows me to have this gun in Canada. I'm hoping that maybe I can get these and sell these at some point. Now, this was my first airsoft review and my first real experience shooting a high quality airsoft rifle, and I was really impressed with the accuracy. Maybe it's just this gun, maybe it's all airsoft guns, I don't know, but this thing shot very well. In fact, I believe it shot better than my CX4 Storm, which shoots pellets through a rifled barrel. I did the same test, and I don't think I got under 2 inches with that gun. So, not too bad. And by the way, with the CX4, I had a magnified sight on it. Now again, this gun has full ambidextrous positionings for the magazine release, selector switch, and the bolt can be optionally put on either side. And you also have a few options with what kind of power source you want to use. Now in Canada, I don't think we can really get the green gas so easily because it's considered bad to the environment and we can't purchase it anymore. But we can use propane with the corresponding adapter. And of course, if you have the CO2 magazine, you can use that as well. Couple cons for this gun. Like, I wasn't really trying to get picky on it. Again, this is my first airsoft gun. I'm not going to get all picky on it. I don't even know what to look for, to be honest, for negative stuff. But it's not cheap to buy. Here in Canada, you're going to spend a minimum of $400+ to buy this gun at the airsoft stores locally in Canada. Maybe a lot cheaper in the States, but guns generally are more expensive in Canada. So spending $400 to $500, that's going to set you back a bit. Now this gun, as I said, it eats a lot of CO2. I was getting about 1 magazine per CO2, so 30 rounds. That seemed excessive to me. Now it was a very cold day. You can adjust the feet per second, so potentially if I adjusted that down a bit, I'd get more shots. And because of the heavy blowback, you need to check for wear and tear and for parts coming loose on this gun regularly. So field strip it, take a look around, tighten anything up you need to, JB weld any parts, or use some Loctite on any screws that are backing out. Make sure to do that. Another thing, this gun may be a little bit too powerful for anybody into airsoft skirmishes. Because of the high velocity, I wouldn't want to get shot at with this gun. So again, you're going to have to detune this gun. I believe you can do that. I haven't looked into it at this point. I'm not going to be using it in skirmishes as far as I know at this point. If I ever do, I'll take a look at that down the road. Alright, so that concludes my review of the WE AWSS SCAR-L in tan. I hope you enjoyed my first airsoft review. I'm looking forward to doing more airsoft reviews for you, and I'm hoping to get some airsoft products for my website web store. Now if you do have a chance, come on down to the Replica Airguns website. I'd love to have you check it out. I also have my Twitter channel and Facebook channel. They go by the username Replica Airguns. And I just thought to remind you, I will be doing a field test video for this gun shortly, so make sure to watch that video review. I'll put a link in here at a later date to that video. So thanks again for watching. Until next time, take care.